Salut tout le monde. Hi everybody. Mayor Pierre Leroux here for Live with Leroux. Ici pour Leroux en direct, where this is an opportunity for members of the public to ask me questions in an online forum. We did this in the fall last year, or September-ish, I believe, and it was a great success. I had a lot of fun doing it. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to talk about a lot of subjects that would be of interest to residents. There's the format, if you will, le format, si tu veux, is I'm going to essentially answer questions that you guys are asking of me. I'll try and give you the best answer I can. If I can't, if I don't know the answer, then I'll definitely take note and I'll get back to you via Facebook or email or whatever the case may be. Pour ceux qui c'est la première fois qu'ils voient que je fais ça, le format essentiellement, c'est que vous avez juste à demander des questions, puis m'essayer de répondre le meilleur que je peux. C'est une session très informelle. I mean, it's really informal here. I see that we have some people logging on, so welcome. So yeah, so just type your questions away, and we can try and answer your questions. I have some talking points that I could go over if nobody seems to have any questions. But this is just a way for me to talk about Russell Township, talk about what's going on in the municipality, and try and reach as many people as possible. I know that life can be very busy, and sometimes coming to a council meeting is quite difficult. Alors, c'est très difficile de venir des réunions de conseil des fois, mais c'est une opportunité pour jaser à propos de la municipalité, qu'est-ce qui se passe, puis c'est ça. So, on a une première question. Marc-Antoine, croyez-vous si tu vas créer une page Facebook officielle de toi-même comme moi et Amanda Simard? Justement, j'ai pris un cours sur les médias sociaux. Comme c'est là la page Facebook pour moi-même, c'est juste une page personnelle. Mais définitivement, ça se peut que je crée une page officielle, si tu veux, qui est pour des politiciens. So the question that was asked is, am I going to be creating an official Facebook page, if you will? Currently, the Facebook page I have is more of a personal page, a friends page, if you will. But there are accounts you can create, if you will, that are essentially for politicians or people of interest. So I might be creating an account at one point for that, for myself in the context of me in my position as mayor. So thank you very much for the question, Marc-Antoine. So let's see what can we talk about. We have our new sports dome that's opened up. Le nouveau dôme sportif est ouvert cette année, January 10th. It's been a huge success. You know, little things here and there that we're learning, but I think that everybody overall has been quite impressed with the sports dome. The fundraising effort by the King Club was very much appreciated. You know, it was a big investment on the part of the municipality, but the usage of the members of the public, the residents, is far exceeds my expectations. We'll actually begin a report later on in the next month or two to give us some total counts where we are. So let's see, I have some questions coming in. There's an event coming up on March 8th regarding our community profile. Is that intended more for business owners to attend or the public in general? It's actually more of it's a session more for the public. Obviously, businesses are welcome as well. But what it is, it's our economic development department is developing a community profile to celebrate all the great things in our community. The community profile will serve as a resource to learn about the community, how to promote it as far as businesses and investors to the area. It'll include demographics, economics, housing. So it's like a snapshot of the municipality that we can hand out as a marketing tool for people who aren't necessarily in the area. And we're looking for community feedback to help us to help tell our economic development team what we as a community think of ourselves, so we can promote that outside. So thanks very much for the question, Cindy. Isabelle asks, I continue to see collisions near Ultramar and overpass Saint-Guillaume, and I'm worried driving through that area daily. I was thankful for the speed change, but is something in the works for making those intersections safer? Most definitely. Perfect timing, actually, for asking the question. I was, in the earlier part of the week, I was actually in Toronto for the OGRA conference, the Ontario Good Roads Association conference. And myself with staff, administration, and staff from the United Counties of Prescott-Russell met with the ministry, the Minister of Transportation and her staff to discuss the matter. Obviously, there's a lot of concern on our part, especially with the expansion of the 417 Industrial Park and the growth we're seeing in Russell Township right now. That is a lot of congestion that we know it's coming. It's already an issue. And so I can tell you right now, one of the things we're looking at is they repaved the off-ramp last year. We've asked them to have a left and right lane painting, so that, I mean, everybody does it now, let's be honest. Everybody comes off the ramp and it creates two lines, but actually make it legal and put the line painting accordingly. They've talked about putting a light at that intersection at the off-ramp. So the minister was quite understanding of the situation. She gave direction to her staff to sit down with public works staff from here and public works staff from the United Counties as soon as possible to see how we can expedite addressing that issue, because it is a dangerous intersection. The fact we did lower the speed limit did help considerably. Last time I checked with the OPP, we hadn't really had any collisions since we dropped that, knock on wood. But hopefully the Ministry of Transportation can sooner than later, because at that intersection, it's really a three-level. It's Russell Township, United Counties, and Ministry of Transportation all have some kind of responsibility in that area. So we're working together to try and address that. Thank you very much for the question. So let's see. I mentioned the community profile. Give me a second. Jean made a comment. I disagree with Isabel. The posted speed reduction only gives those who cut into traffic more time to cut in front of you. Quite possibly. Unfortunately, I think it was more erring on the side of caution. We've had, before the speed limit dropped, we did have a considerable amount of accidents at the area. So the fact that we're reducing, it has been reduced, has had a positive impact. You know, people talk about, well, let's be honest, it doesn't matter what rules we put in place. I can't legislate stupidity as far as drivers go. I know a lot of people ask for speed reductions in their area, and I completely understand that. But if somebody is going to be driving like an idiot, it doesn't matter what law is in place. Enforcement, obviously, the OPP do enforcement. They have special teams that do for traffic. And obviously, we pay for that. You know, we could always give direction to the OPP to do more traffic enforcement, if you will. But at the end of the day, we try and balance all requests for the OPP. You know, they're the experts in their job, so I think it's always good that we let them do their job. And if we see there's a problem, we give that information to the OPP and we let them handle it. Because you know, for me to start telling the police what to do, I don't think is right. I'm not the one with their experience, and I'm not the one who's been doing that job day in, day out for the existence of the police force. So I think that's something we should leave up to them. Let's see, we have some more comments. Hey, Councillor Saucier, can I give a update on the listeners on the transit review? Yeah, for sure. So right now we've hired a consultant that will be doing a review of our transit system. This is important because with the LRT with the LRT coming to Ottawa, that will have a definite impact on our transit service. Currently, right now, the buses have a few stops in Embrun and Russell. We pick up, we go down, and essentially we're zigzagging. We're going through downtown. We go all the way to Hull for the service. However, when the LRT is put in place, we don't even know if that will be an option anymore. It might be that we pick up and we drop off at the Blair station only, and from there people would have to take the LRT system. So it is a study that's going on right now. We actually have a open house on March 20th. The time hasn't been confirmed yet, but it will in the next week or so. That'll be an opportunity for people to come and talk about the transit service. And it's not just for transit service users. You know, part of the reason we want to do this transit open house and the transit study is to find out how can we get more people using transit. Obviously, it's not for everybody, and I understand that, but we want to make it as efficient as possible. It is a service that, you know, it costs the municipality anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 a year, which, by the way, in 2018, 1% of taxation is $108,000. So as far as it's a minor cost to the municipality. If you compare it to everybody else that has a transit system, we're very effective with ours because it's more of a user fee based, but it's still 1% of taxation that's paying for this service. So I'm hoping that this transit study gives us some options to see if we can lower that cost to the municipality and improve the service. So hopefully that'll be something the open house will help with. And then a report should come in April or May to members of council, to the council table, and see what our options are going forward. Thank you very much, Councillor Associate. Let's see. Comment from Chris. I would start taking the bus if it dropped off and picked up at Blair. Perfect. So obviously that's things we want to know. So we invite you to send your comments into our for the transit department, and we invite you to come to the open house on March 20th and give those comments, because the more people we can get to use transit service, hopefully the less we can impact on the municipal taxation, the municipal budget. So thanks for the heads up. Let's see, what else we got here? Y a-t-il un moyen de réparer le chemin Marionville? Oui, définitivement. Comment ça marche pour paver les chemins? How it works for paving the roads? Essentiellement, qu'est-ce que c'est? C'est à chaque 5 ans, on a fait une étude de tous nos chemins. Every 5 years, we do a study of all our roads to find out what the condition is. And it's based on multiple standards set by the ministry. Essentially, we have roughly 270 kilometers of roads, and we pave approximately 10-12 kilometers a year. So I'd like to say to everybody that we're going to pay everybody's road. Unfortunately, that's unrealistic. I believe we're doing some roads in Marionville is scheduled for 2020, but they're small. In the grand scheme of things, we spend about roughly $1.2 million a year on road paving, and they're in Marionville. It's smaller contracts, so possibly if we have a cost savings in 2018 or 2019, we might be able to do some of those little contracts ahead of time. So all these roads are essentially on a 5-year plan. We try and follow the plan because essentially in the past, what used to happen is people used to come by and say, you know, come to a council table and say, I want my road paved. And, you know, essentially that's how council back in the day used to pave that road, you know. But it wasn't really a fair way, if you will. It's not always the squeaky wheel that should get the oil. It should be a standard in place. And we evaluate the roads and say, well, based on the condition assessment and based on all the factors said by the ministry, at this point in time, this road should be done. And that comes to asset replacement, which is something that the provincial government is pushing on municipalities. Very, very hard to have an asset management plan in place. Let's see, we have some more questions coming in. I understand there is to be improved commercial area in Embrun. Can you explain the plan? Yeah, for sure. So essentially, behind City Hall, we have our Embrun Commercial Park. And this year, I should say, in 2017, we brought services to that area. So the landowners paid a portion, and we brought water and sewer to that area. What we did, though, as well, is we oversized the pipes to service the land behind that, which is farmland, and it's on the other side of the bike path, which is roughly Saint-Guillaume all the way to 300. There's about 40 acres there. And after doing a study, we changed our official plan, and that area was designated as commercial land. So the official plan is in its final approval stage. We're just waiting for the United Counties to sign off on it. Once that land is signed off, then I'm sure you'll see commercial growth very quickly. I think there's already people who are waiting. They're just waiting for the official plan to be approved. And we'll be seeing, you know, I anticipate we'll be seeing some big box store type of retail going in there. Obviously, with you know, between 60 and 70% of our population that runs to Ottawa for work every day, we'd rather have them spend their money here locally as opposed to going to Ottawa and spending it there. As well, any increase in commercial industrial taxes helps take the burden off residential taxes. So that whole area behind City Hall, behind our commercial park, along Saint-Guillaume and Route 300. So there's about 40 acres that have been designated as commercial space. Let's see. Do you also have an update on our ambulance issue with the City of Ottawa? Yes and no. We had, back again, I was in at the Good Roads Conference this week. All the mayors had a meeting with the staff of the Ministry of Health, who is responsible for land ambulance service. The Minister of Health actually quit this week, and there's a new minister that took his place, so it wasn't the meeting I was hoping for. Essentially what happened is we used to have a contract with the City of Ottawa that was mandated by the province that municipalities had to have agreements in place, and they had to pay us. For example, if Ottawa did 10 calls in Russell Township, or in the United Counties, and the United Counties did 50 calls in Ottawa, then that 40 call difference would be paid by the City of Ottawa. And a few years ago, I believe it was in 2015, that contract ended. And before that contract ended, the provincial legislation changed, and it was just a minor word change, but essentially left the door open for the fact that we have to provide the service, because essentially how it works with land ambulance services is that the closest ambulance must attend. That's the way the rules are written. There's some discussion on interpretation that can be done. But since often we're the closest to, for example, to Metcalfe or to Osgood, we go and we attend. And once we go there, and for example, then we go to the hospital downtown, we drop off the patient, and before we have a chance to come back, another call comes in and the ambulance is there, so it's the closest one, and essentially goes and gets taken up. I like to call the City of Ottawa a black hole when it comes to ambulance service, because it takes the ambulance from the rural areas all around and just essentially sucks it all in. So we had a meeting with staff. I wish it was more productive. You know, we've provided all the numbers, but I think at this point in time, the mayors of the United Counties are going to have to make a decision, and we're going to have to start paying a little bit higher ball because it's ridiculous. In the last 2 years, there's been a shortfall, or the bill that's accumulated that Ottawa should be paying us is about $1.5 million. So that's about 3% value of taxation. So definitely the United Counties are pushing hard on this file. We'd like to see a solution as soon as possible, and we're talking with our legal team to see what's the options at this point in time. So thanks for the question. Let's see. Councillor Saucier, March 8th will be a great evening to discuss this. How do we ensure we protect our small businesses when big box stores come in? Example, a local coffee shop that was there for quite some time went under recently when larger commercial businesses come in. Many small businesses are feeling the pressure. I can totally understand that. I was a small business owner for 17 years. It's a difficult situation because I think, you know, as much as we push local shopping and totally 100% support local shopping, we live in a global world where somebody can click on the internet and have something delivered in 24 hours. You know, I'm no stranger to this. I do it. I think most people do it. You know, with the current cost of living, everybody's finding it hard. Everybody's looking out for their own pocket. I think local businesses have to learn to adapt, to realize that the world has changed around them, and hopefully there's something we can do as a municipality. Now, municipality's job, I don't think, is to support local businesses indefinitely. I don't think, you know, we can't subsidize local businesses to act. I think it's taxpayers' money we represent, and if a taxpayer wants to support a local business, that's up to them to do so. What we can do as a local government is we can we create an environment that's positive for businesses to thrive. So in the last 4 years, we've done very well as far as tax increases go. You know, roughly 1.5% increase every year is below the cost of living. It is reasonable. It's a really tricky subject, and I wish I knew. I wish I had the answer. And if I did have the answer, I'd be rich, because everybody's looking for this answer. How do we put a model in place? How do we support our local businesses in a global world when it's so easy to access everything? I don't know. You know, I wish I had the answer, and unfortunately I don't. All I can say is that in my business, personal business, I evolved, I changed. I had to make adjustments, and that's what businesses will have to do. I welcome all businesses to give me feedback, to let me know how we can help support them. I think it's the business community that has to bring forward ideas, and you know, apart from lowering their taxes, because realistically that won't be happening. But you know, it's an ongoing discussion, and everybody's trying to figure out how to best make that work. So thanks very much. Let's see here. Who do I got? I got more questions here. What is happening about preserving urban trees? We're losing a lot of them. We have lost a lot of trees just in front here. We had a lot of trees last year that the ash borer unfortunately took out. We replanted a lot of trees. When it comes to development, a lot of essentially for when developers are building houses, every house has a tree on it. I can say that the municipality is a major contributor to South Nation conservation, and South Nation, and as well through the United Counties. Both those organizations spend hundreds of $1,000s a year on tree coverage. You know, I know that through South Nation, there was a forest tree coverage committee that was created with the local farming population, because at the end of the day, that is a big component. We have a large sector of farmland in our municipality, and it's kind of hard to have a farmer's field and a forest at the same time. There are suggestions, there are possibilities. So those two organizations are working together, and we'll see what can come up. But we do have in this year's budget, there was money put aside for a tree coverage program. So I'm happy to see that go forward. Let's see. I'm trying to see if I missed one here. I had a Sports Dome question. I don't see it at all. I have my one of the staff with me here that's writing me notes if I miss something, and I got a note here that there was a question from Jean or Jean on the sports dome, and I'm trying to spot it.
Jean wants to know who she contacts to talk about the sports dome and their programs.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Jean, for questions in regards to the sports dome, you can either go on site, when staff are there. We have the director of Parks and Recreation is sitting tall. I believe we might even have an email for the sports dome.
There's a Parks and Rec email address.
Okay, so there's a Parks and Rec email address that you can contact. But the manager at the sports dome, her name is Sonia Clement, and we also have Isabelle that works in programming. So you can actually, if you take a look, if you got one of these in the mail, you can actually see a virtual copy on our website, I believe, as well. And there is, let me see here. There's some contact information on there as well.
I commented back to Jean.
Oh, okay.
So Jean goes and looks in the comments. I wrote the email address.
Perfect, Jean. So you can look in the comments and find that information. Let's see. Yeah, for those who didn't know, I know it's a little bit hard to see here, but just to put stuff in perspective for Russell Township, we were actually voted from Many Cents Magazine as the 21st best place in Canada to live. So 21st, and put that in a little bit more in perspective, there's over 3,700 municipalities in Canada. So 21st as the first time we get ranked is pretty impressive. So that's in big part to the community spirit we have, and I think it's incredible to be recognized. We were also voted 16th best place in Canada to raise children. And if you break it down to Ontario only, we were 6th in Ontario as best places to live, and we were 3rd in Ontario for best places to raise kids. So congratulations to everybody. That's super proud to be part of. We have some more questions coming in. JP, the area needs growth. Keep bucking them. Great work. There will always be need for smaller businesses. What's your next big project now that the dome is completed? Is a pool complex in the discussion? We've been taking our children to Orleans for the past 2 years. Yes, yes. The dome is the first step, if you will, in recreation improvements. I mean, honestly, the last big infrastructure project we did in recreation would have been I believe the Emblem Arena, roughly about 50 years ago. So it's nice that we have the sports dome. Part of the direction that council has given to our administration is, once the dome is complete, the official grand opening will be in May. Once that's complete, then staff have the direction, and they've already started to do some discussions, is to start planning on a future complex. Now, I know that everybody wants better ice rinks, a pool. Those are things I totally understand. For me personally, I've voiced my opinions before. These are things I want, but I want them done in the right order. Essentially what happens is a project of that magnitude would be totally paid by taxation. If you're building 2 ice pads and you're closing down Russell and Emblem, it's not growth associated, so you can't use any of the development charges, which means you're only using taxation. If you build a 3rd ice rink, then that would be through development charges, similar to what we did with the sports dome. So yeah, definitely a pool. If you're building, you're going to build it in conjunction with an arena, because the energy you put into heating the arena can be recycled to help heat the pool, cut down on operational costs, that kind of stuff. But we have a few large projects that we're going to be looking at in the future. Right now, I can tell you that it's been a priority, and we've been working hard for the last few years to bring services to the 417 Industrial Park. Even though bringing services there would essentially be paid by landowners in that area, the township would have to essentially pay the bill up front and be reimbursed by the land over a certain amount of years. So that is a $13 million project that has an impact on our debt borrowing capacity. Now, that being said, the reason I'm so strong on this project is because creating new commercial growth, new industrial growth helps take the pressure off of residential taxes. And the more commercial growth you have, the more funds you have to build a complex. So realistically, I think a project is about 5 years away. By the time you get planning, community involvement, what's going to be part of it, design, going out for tender, all that stuff, I'd say it's probably a 5-year project, between 5 and 7 years realistically. A pool, I can tell you that every pool I visited over the last 7 years, every township I've gone to see their complexes, pools lose a great amount of money. And so we want to make sure that we have the right formula to make sure that we lessen the impact on taxation. So yeah, that's one project. We're looking at possibly servicing the village of the Russell side and the village of Limoges with services. So that's a multi-million-dollar project as well. Council has asked right now to look at the possibility, what's the options as far as an Embrun library relocation goes. Do we rent space? Do we buy land and build? Do we have somebody build it for us? That's a multi-million-dollar project as well. So it's really gathering all that information for the public and members of council to make an informed decision when we go forward with the project, to make sure if we do A, B, and C, how will that affect D, E, and F? I like to compare it. It's like trying to do a puzzle when the picture is constantly changing. So we have to have all the information and a definite financial plan to make sure that we don't overextend ourselves, because that's the last thing we want to do, is put ourselves in a position where we'd have to increase taxation dramatically. I don't think any family, any resident wants to do that at this point in time. So let's see, what else do we have? Do we have anything coming up? No more questions. I'm keeping an eye on it on my screen, so if you have questions, just throw it up there. For our business community, I'd like to mention we have a lunch and learn for our businesses on March 22nd between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. So you can find that information on our website, and just send an RSVP to give an idea to our economic development team how we could be supportive of that. How many people are going to be present, that way when they order the food, they have a better idea. Just to give you an idea what's the future like from a planning perspective. We have subdivisions that are planned and a subdivision, once a subdivision is approved, it can be anywhere from 5, 10, 15 years. Usually they do it in multiple phases, so depending on how sales are going. So for example, what's been, as far as new subdivisions go, planned, we have approximately 160 units of growth in Embrun that are planned right now on the books for the next few years. And in Russell, in the village of Russell, we have approximately just over 1,000 units. There's some major projects in Russell that are going on, so there's going to be quite some improvement there. There were some changes as well. There's some commercial land a little bit in Russell, across from Russell High, that big subdivision there that's going to be developed. So that's nice to see. For the record, if anybody's ever got something they're interested in, whether it be they want to buy a house, turn it into a business, whether they want to build something, whether it's a multiplex building or a strip mall or whatever the case is, we actually have something here that I'm quite proud of. Our staff has done an amazing job with, is what we call our review team. So often what happens is people have an idea for something and they buy the land, and then they come to the municipality and find out what they had in mind doesn't necessarily apply, or they say, oh, well, there's all this red tape. So by creating this team and having people come to us ahead of time or at the beginning of a project, we can give you all the information that you will need to make this a successful project. So if ever you have any type of project you're interested in discussing, more than welcome to come to the municipality, talk with our planning department, see what information they can give you, and if you can go to the review team if needed, and get everybody's feedback. I mean, we have South Nation there, we have United Counties there, we have our multiple departments there, so we try and give you an overview of everything you might need. So that's a staff initiative that was very well received by a lot of people, so kudos to them. Let's see, we have some more questions coming up. Is there a plan for a future deal with the traffic specifically for Notre Dame? That's a tough one. Notre Dame is a county road, and most main streets in Prescott Russell, in all the villages, usually the main road is part of the United Counties of Prescott Russell's responsibility. However, it would be kind of hard to, for example, to make Notre Dame a four-lane road, right? So there is a master plan, a transportation master plan that looks at how we can alleviate traffic. For example, those that live in the St. Thomas development to the east of the township. A lot of people, instead of coming down St. Guillaume, going through the village, they actually stay on the highway, get off the Limoges exit, grab the Route 300, and they avoid all that congestion. So there's improvements we can do as a municipality, realign some roads, and try and address some of it. I mean, the roundabout was a perfect example of work that was done by the United Counties and the township to try and alleviate some traffic concerns. So it's there's no magic pill, unfortunately, for congestion. Like an engineer once said to me, he goes, traffic is like water. People find the path of least resistance, and that's the route they take. So sometimes maybe it's just trying out different routes for your travel plans and see. Possibly it's an easier route to go somewhere else. Take Saint Pierre, take Route 300. The staff are working on it, but it's not something that will be fixed like that by any time soon. Let's see. The community profile, I think we had talked about at the beginning. Let's see. Pam Pilon, curious, with all the new families moving in over the next few years, are there any plans for a French high school in Russell? Good question. Honestly, not that I've heard at all. The school board, even though the municipality collects the taxes for the school board, we have no discussions with them, or very little discussions when it comes to the school board. We don't interact too often with them. I haven't heard of a French high school in Russell at this point in time, but if ever I do, then definitely I'll share that information. Let's see. Jean, thanks for being so open, addressing personal issues that are near and dear to constituents' hearts and minds. Hey, my pleasure. I had a great time doing this last year. I'm enjoying this very much now. I think it's a great tool for municipalities and for elected officials to have. It's an easy way to chit chat with people without having to call a big meeting and invite everybody. And I think this is more realistic in modern times how to do stuff. So technology is our friend in this case. So thank you very much, Jean. Any plans on paving Route 100 Hamilton Road? Terrible condition and concern for school buses. Yeah, honestly, we have a lot of roads like that. It's like I said earlier, 270 kilometers of road. We do about 10 a year. So, hopefully 27 years, we should get everything paved and, have to start all over again. But realistically, I know that we're doing a study for we paved a section of Hamilton Road last year in the area of 100. Now we're going to do, we're doing plans this year. There's some work that needs to be evaluated to pave the southern part of Hamilton Road, going towards Craig Street, near the just after the Timmy's and Food Line. So we're looking how we extended the bike trail last year onto the unpaved portion of the bike trail. We paved it last year, and it will be, if everything continues as planned, the bike trail will continue on that little piece for 100 and come down Hamilton Road and then join up in a section of Old Town West. So there's definitely some plans to get that area done. I'm looking at my list here. So Hamilton, Craig to Route 100 is planned in the 2019 time frame. Just to give you an idea, it's about $600,000 expense. We spend about 1.2 million a year on roads, so it's quite expensive when it comes to redoing our roads. But the infrastructure department does a great job at evaluating the roads with a consultant and trying to give a time frame to members of council. So yeah, so that's it for the Hamilton area, Hamilton Road area. Let's see, just a couple of points in regards to bylaws. Just so everyone is aware, those who know half loads. Half loads is in effect from March 5th to May 4th. Demi-charge, which is essentially at this time of year between March and May, the roads are soaked with underneath, and they're more susceptible to cracking, that kind of stuff. That's why you see potholes this time of year. So at this time of year, all the big trucks with are requested that they only fill it up half. So that's from March 5th to May 4th. It's dog tag renewal time, guys. So you have until March 31st to renew or to get a dog license without getting a late fee. So, it's $10 for a late fee, and it's better in your pocket than in ours. So I encourage everybody to do that. Let's see, I got a question from Sean. Any progress while working with Nation Township for the Russell residents in Limoges, especially related to commercial development, i.e. grocery store? Russell Township and Nation have had a few discussions. As for those that don't know, the west, if you go straight down Main Road in Limoges Road, on the west side is Russell side, on the east side is Limoges side. So Limoges, or is the Nation Township side. Nation Township has more of the residents. They have about 80% of the residents in Limoges. As far as we do have some, or sorry, I shouldn't say we. There are some commercial lands on the Russell side. I haven't heard of anybody looking to develop a grocery store. I know that Russell Township is going to be doing an environmental assessment and a research as to if we can service the Limoges side, the Russell Township Limoges side, with water and sewer from Russell Township. That's something that we're going to be seeing in the next little while. It was part of our budget this year, 2018. So we're looking to develop the Limoges side as well on our end. We do have some anxious developers who are interested in building, but it's been a challenge at this point in time because we've been limited as far as service capacity goes. So that'll be coming up in the next month or so, month or two. The discussions will continue, and we'll give that contract out to a consultant. So hopefully for Limoges, we can see some development, commercial, residential. Definitely, I think it's a benefit to everybody in both municipalities if we can continue developing Limoges. So thanks for the question. Sylvia asked, any new development regarding the sewers, etc. on La Madeleine and the pumping station to the park? Yeah, it's everything was pretty much approved last year. So it's just a matter of the timing was because of the delays and the final approval, but it's first thing, as soon as construction season starts, they'll be going ahead and doing that work on La Madeleine Street. So we'll be bringing, you'll be getting sewer services this year. So hope that answers the question. Let's see, did I miss any questions, Chantal? No? Okay, so let's give you an idea. Talked a little bit about bylaws. Building department, just so you're aware, in 2017, we had about 400 building permits, and that represented about an $82 million value investments in Russell Township. So I was quite pleased with that. We had 23 commercial industrial projects in 2017, and that accounted for just over 17 million. So, you know, like I said earlier, more commercial growth equals more taxation coming in that lessens the impact for residential taxation. So that's always fun. Just so you're aware, anybody who has any projects, you know, you want to build a shed, you want to build a deck, you're doing expansion somewhere at the house, make sure you check with our building department. Just a quick note, do you need a permit? They'll let you know if you do or not. And starting in May, we have our 48-hour permit program that starts where if you can get all your information into the building department before noon on Wednesday, they're usually able to get you the permit by Friday afternoon. Obviously, that's assuming that you give all the necessary information, but they've been successful with that last year. So I think that's something that definitely should be taken advantage of. So a couple of notes on our building department. Jean has a question. You know, we've been waiting for over 10 years. Oh, for La Madeleine Street. Yeah, I know it's been a long time coming for La Madeleine. It was, you know, obviously some people wanted to go ahead. Some people didn't want to go ahead. Some people weren't happy with the pricing. It was, you know, there was a delay. Council didn't want to rush to make a decision because we had people on La Madeleine Street that weren't satisfied with the route we were taking, and we weren't going to invest in the design of that infrastructure and then only find out that residents didn't want it. So as far as the paving of the street, I understand, yeah, that street should have been paved a long time ago, but unfortunately, the reasoning behind it is they didn't want to pave the street before the services went in, because then it would have just meant tearing up the street and having to redo it. So I understand it was frustrating, but it is going ahead this year. So I'm thankful for that, and I think the residents will be happy to have a new sewer system in place for them and to have a paved road. So that'll be going ahead this year. Let's see, Harry, is this the year we pave Forest Road? Yes. Forest Road will be paved from Craig Street all the way to the bike trail. So that's the current portion of road that's paved, and that's the section that will be repaved. So yeah, that's in the 2018 budget, Harry, so that will be done this year. Pierre has jumped in. Pierre, what about sewers for Richelieu Street? Yeah, we actually had a study that was done a few, I guess about a year and a half ago now, which is essentially, it was a study of all the areas inside the villages, the pocket areas that don't have services. So it was a preliminary cost estimate. So we have areas that we have some basic information for. Usually what we ask is that if people on a certain street are interested in having services that are missing, I suggest what you do is you contact your neighbors, go door to door, get a petition asking the municipality to seriously look at it. And because at the end of the day, for those areas that don't have services, it will be the homeowners that pay for those services to be installed. So for example, for Richelieu Street, talk to your neighbors, get them to sign a petition asking the municipality to look at that area to service, and then council can give direction to staff. Staff can get cost estimates and start the ball rolling, if you will, and let you know and let all the homeowners know how much the cost would be. And that way, once homeowners have that information, then they can make an informed decision if they want to go ahead or not. Essentially what it is the municipality usually pays for those projects up front, and then homeowners go through a payment plan on how they reimburse the municipality. So it's definitely talk to your neighbors, see if there's interest there, and if there is, then come to the township and talk to us, and we'll see where we can go from there. let's see, JP, there's a lot of work going on in Saint-Guillaume with underground wires. Is that for La Gare de l'Est sign erected years ago? Yeah, the La Gare de l'Est, the sign that's put up close to 417, that's a private landowner, a private developer who put that sign up. That's essentially waiting for municipal services. Water and sewer, like I said earlier, it's a $13.5 million project that landowners would have to pay for, but the municipality would have to pay up front. Right now, it would be very expensive for the landowners to pay, probably in the range of $35,000 to $40,000 an acre for servicing. So we're trying to get some federal and provincial people to jump on board and help us out. We're trying to get some to lower the costs for the homeowners. At the end of the day, if we can stimulate economic growth there, if we can stimulate growth in the commercial industrial sector, then it's taking pressure off the residential sector. So it's automatically it's that much taxation less that we'll have to take from the residential side. And what we've done as well is we've actually, in our new official plan, we've added approximately, you know, I think it's between 80 and 150 acres of redesigned land there as commercial industrial. So if you think of all the land as a pie, because we've added more pieces to the pie, everybody's costs will go down. So I'm looking forward to that project. I'm working hard on that project. I think that's one of the major economic stimulants for the municipality. So as far as the wires go, I've seen them. I'm not sure why they're doing some upgrades to the wires. I'll try and get an answer for you and come back to you. I'll send you a text or a email or a message. Thanks, JP. Let's see. Melanie had a question. I've heard the public library at La Croisée is being moved. Is that true? At this point in time, there's discussions. A joint subcommittee has been created between council and the library board. They're looking at what's the options if we were to leave if we remove the library from the school. I can tell you that there's there's proposals for selling us land, for building us a building and renting to us. There's all sorts of options. Just for everybody to understand, the deal we have with the school board right now is that our rent at the school is approximately $10,000 a year. I think it's a safe bet to say whatever option we would decide to do if we move that library, it'll be minimum of $200,000 a year in rent or in a mortgage payment or whatever the case is. So that's a considerable amount of money difference. Like I said, 1% is roughly $108,000. So, that's almost 2% of taxation. So, but the committee is looking at all the options as we speak. There was actually a meeting going on downstairs tonight. So they will be coming and presenting information to council. I believe it's in April. We have a joint meeting between all of council, all the library board. So we'll be able to see what the options are, and we'll be able to take an informed decision at that point in time. Or we might just, leave it for the next council to come up, because it's essentially, we're only a few months away from an election in the fall. So thanks for the question, Mel. Let's see, did I miss anybody? Yeah, we got Joey who's asking, with new developments happening in and around town, specifically Sunset Flats here in Russell, what is the official plan with respect to educational and recreational facilities and services long time? Educational, like I mentioned earlier, education is the school boards. It really has nothing to do with the township itself. Obviously, if there's plans for more schools, the township is on board. Obviously, for our type of community, there's a reason we have so many schools, because we have so many young families. So, and that's only going to increase. It's not going to decrease. So, I think at the township itself, we don't have an educational plan. Usually, school boards themselves have an educational plan. They see where the growth is and where they're going into the future. As far as recreational facilities go, We do have a master plan for recreation, which talks about all sorts of, from passive parks to active parks to a future rec complex. So that's a lot of, that's a big document. If ever somebody wants to look at it, you can contact our recreational department, and it might be available on our website as well. But yeah, no, recreation for this council and this administration is very important to us. I think that's why the sports dome was able to get approved and constructed within 1 year, is because council wanted to see this project go forward, and we had the good impact from the community as well, good support from the community. And I can tell you, I'm there at 5 o'clock every morning, and there's most mornings anyways, and there's usually in the gym 6 to 8 people on the walking track. And any time of day that I walk by, that dome is busy. So I think kudos to our administration, who did a phenomenal job on building this sports dome, and it's going to help with the economic development of our area. Everything, like I said earlier, is a puzzle with all the pieces, and the picture's constantly changing, and it's making sure that understanding what the impact of our decisions are. If you do A, B, and C, how does that affect D, E, and F? And if you do D, E, and F, how does that affect A, B, and C? So I think recreational wise, no, I moved here 17 years ago. I had 3 young boys, and I saw there was lacking, and I'm glad that we're moving forward with recreation. Thanks for your question. Sylvie, time frame regarding indoor pool and new arena. I mentioned it earlier. Administration's working on starting to work on a future complex. How that works, how much it costs, that's information gathering for the next little while. But they have started doing that gathering of information. Realistically, 5 to 7 year project. We have some large projects that we have to do, servicing of industrial parks and that kind of stuff. And like I mentioned earlier, those are the type of projects that help generate revenue. So I want to spend $1, I want to make $1.50. And that 50 cents difference helps pay for other projects. So we're going definitely in the right direction. I think we just have to be conscious of how we do it, because if we could go ahead and build a complex right now, realistically, but we might have to increase taxation 10% to pay for it. Is that are we in that position that we want to do that? I'm not sure. Personally, I'm not in that position. I think we invest our money where it generates revenue, and with those new revenue streams, that's when we go ahead and build a project. So I think when we have all the information, make an informed decision, that's when I'll go ahead. But realistically, in the mind of our administration, and in my mind, I think most of council's mind as well, we're looking at 5 year, 7 year completion dates. So that's where we are. I only got a couple of minutes left here, guys. So if there's somebody who wants to throw in a last minute question, I'm just looking at my notes. If there's something I want to throw out there, just to, in case you guys didn't know, our industrial commercial tax base right now, how much revenue we get from commercial industrials businesses only represents about 6 or 7% of our taxation. It's mostly all the residential side. So that's the reason I push so hard for new businesses to come in, because a healthy municipality should be around 22% commercial tax base. So, if we can triple our commercial taxation, that would be huge for our municipality. It would be phenomenal. In all of Prescott Russell, in all of the 8 municipalities, we are currently second lowest in 2017 as far as the taxation goes. And hopefully by the end of this year, we'll be the first, we'll be the lowest. And that's per $100,000. For example, on $100,000 worth of taxation, we're second lowest right now. If you know somebody who lives in one other municipality and you're paying more than them, well, that could be because your house is technically worth more than theirs. But the rate at which we're paying is actually the second lowest in Prescott Russell right now. So something I'm really happy about. Some of the projects we have this year. Last year, we changed all the street lights to LED streetlights. And this year, we only have the ones in certain areas which are more decorative that hadn't been changed to LED. Those are going to be changed this year. Like I mentioned earlier, we're doing roughly about 12 kilometers of road. We're redoing a bunch of sidewalks this year as well. And St. Joseph Bridge, which is actually on the agenda for Monday night's meeting, should be repaired this year, hopefully, as well. So, yeah, guys, so thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. C'était super intéressant de faire d'avoir cette discussion ici. On va continuer à le faire. Si vous avez des questions, if you guys have questions, don't be shy to contact members of council, myself. My email is pierreleroux@russell.ca. All our contact information is on the website. There's so much information there if you take the time to actually look for it. I know everybody has busy lives, but I encourage you to reach out anytime you have a question. That's what council members are here for, is to be your voice, to represent you at council and how we deal with the administration. So thank you so much, everybody. Merci beaucoup à tout le monde. It was a pleasure doing this again, and I look forward to next time. And we'll see you in the next little update video, probably next week after council's meeting. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Passe une super belle soirée. Et on va te voir la prochaine fois dans un de nos petits vidéos pour après les réunions de conseil. Salut! Have a good one.